I want to thank the Lord for saving me and being good to me. I don't deserve it. The only thing that I deserve is to die and go to hell, but I'm so glad that the Lord loved me and cared for me. I thank Him for coming and dying on the cross for my sins, taking my sins upon Him, and willingly laying down His life for me, shedding His life's blood for me, and being buried and being raised again. And thank God for the gospel, and I thank God for my personal testimony. A lot of folks can testify to things that they've experienced in their life, and some folks, have they got saved when they were a kid, and then straight off from the Lord. And then some folks, their testimony is they got saved later on in life after experiencing a lot of things. And I'm glad that they have their testimony, and I'm glad that they can talk about what the Lord has done for them on their testimony. But I'm thankful for my testimony. I'm glad that I've been in church all my life. I'm glad that I started going to church when I was about 4 or 5 years old. Was a bus kid, but I was a different kind of bus kid. My parents, my family, my grandparents, everybody in my family actually went to church, but I chose to ride on the bus so I could ride on the bus with all the other kids. And I can remember Mama fixing me a bologna sandwich and walking me to the end of the driveway and eating a bologna sandwich, waiting for the bus to come pick me up.
Yeah. Amen.
And but I thank God for just all my life being in church. My first pastor that I had, Preacher Reese, he pastored Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Kings Mountain. I was there at that church in a little storefront building similar to ours that I heard the gospel for the first time. My Sunday school teacher, Carolyn Kirkendall, had challenged the kids in our class to learn John 3:16. The first one that memorized the verse would win $5. And I started trying to memorize the verse. Same time, it seemed like that the preacher was preaching the gospel. He preached it all the time, but it really stood out to me then. And I began to understand what John 3:16 was about, and started really beginning at 5 years old. That's how simple the gospel is, beginning to understand what the gospel was all about. And I remember I didn't get saved at church. I didn't go down to the altar at church. I was scared. I was just a little boy. But I remember being at home and sitting around the dinner table at home. And I remember turning to my grandpa and saying, "Papa, I want to be saved." And my grandpa took me to the back bedroom of the house there and opened up the Bible and led me down the Romans Road, showed me that I was a sinner in need of a Savior, and Jesus Christ was the only one that could forgive me of my sins, that Jesus was the only one, the only way to heaven. And I remember bowing my head and accepting the Lord into my heart, accepting Him as my Savior, putting my faith in the gospel on that day. And I was the first person my grandpa ever won to the Lord. And I thank God for being in church all my life, and Mama being a Sunday school teacher when I was young, my grandpa being my youth leader as I got older. And then I remember one day we was looking for a church to go to, and we was kind of in between churches, and my grandparents did something still to this day shocks me. They turned to me and my brother and asked us, "Well, what church do you want to go to?" And me and my brother both at the same time, we both was in agreement. We wanted to go to Bright Light Baptist Church in Bessemer City, because that's where Preacher Reese, our first pastor, was pastoring that then. And we went there, and I'm glad that that's where we went. While we were there, God really got a hold of our hearts, mine and his both, around the same time. July 14th, 1999, we were at youth camp, at New Manors Youth Camp in Marion, North Carolina. And on July 14th, 1999 is when I surrendered to the Lord to preach, and my life has been totally different ever since, and I thank God for it. My life up until that point was all about baseball. That's all I cared about. That's all I wanted to do. I had opportunity, along with some of my other friends that I played ball with, to play in front of some professional scouts in South Carolina in some different tournaments. And I'm glad that I didn't do what I wanted to do, but I surrendered. I yielded my life to what God would have me to do. And I'm absolutely 100% happy with the direction my life has gone. It has had its ups and downs, but I can't think of any place I'd rather be than right in the center of God's will, doing what God's called me to do. And I thank God for saving me. I thank God for my wife. I thank God, many of the folks here, they mentioned the bus ministry, and I thank God for the bus ministry. I met my wife through the bus ministry. Even though we went to the same school, I didn't know her. She didn't know me. But her aunt filled in for my bus route, to drive my bus route. The driver for my bus route at the church was going on vacation, and we needed a bus driver. And her aunt, Amanda's mom, Angela, had her CDL license and filled in to drive the bus that Sunday. And we clicked, hit it off right then, and started talking. And wasn't long after that, she was going to church, thought she was saved, and but I remember being at a youth conference, at a youth rally that Brother Chris Hazlett preached at North Gaston High School, and our youth group was singing there. And I remember on that Friday night, he preached when he gave the altar call. Estella was one of the first ones to go down to the altar. She got saved that night, and I thank God for that. It really struck something in my heart when she got saved on that Friday night. And she was back again on that Saturday night, and then Sunday morning our youth choir was singing at church. She'd only been saved for a day and a half, and she was already testifying in front of the congregation what the Lord had done for her. And I thought, that's somebody that God made just a huge impact in her life. In a short period of time, she was wanting to serve the Lord, and I thought, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly the kind of woman that I want. And God has put us together. She's from Mexico. God works in mysterious ways. He brought her here, allowed our paths to cross. Because God has a plan for everybody, and it was God's plan for us to come together and be able to work together in the ministry. I thank God for the 10 years that that we started, and I pastored the Spanish church at Bright Light Baptist Church, and now we've started Glory Bound, and a little over 4 years now here at Glory Bound Baptist Church. God's been good to me. Has blessed me in so many ways. God has blessed me with two boys. Isaiah is 8 years old, and he preaches. And he loves the Lord, and I couldn't ask God for a better son. I thank God for sending Samuel our way. Samuel's already testified. I thank God for him. God sent him our way, and he's our son too. He's been with us for several years, and I thank God for everything He's done for me. I thank God for my family, my church family. I feel the same way that Mamaw does. My church family is not my church family; it's my family. And I thank God for it, and I just thank God for all of His many blessings. And like Titus had said when he started this off, I thank God for even the hard times, because it's been in those hard times that God has really proven Himself to me and has strengthened me. And there's no way that I could do what I do today without going through those, and God molding me and shaping me in what He would have me be. And He's still molding me and still shaping me. I'm nowhere near what I need to be, but I thank God I'm not what I once was, and I'm glad that I'm in the center of God's will and God's using me. And so I want to encourage anybody that's listening to this, if you're lost, trust the Lord as your Savior. Christians, get involved, serve the Lord, because we're running out of time.
Amen.